welcome to our session Partnership for Goals. My name is Jan Knobloch, and together with my colleague Claudia, we will chair this session. And we looking forward that we will have a good discussion and very good information, we'll participate in this interesting session. So, in order to make sustainable change in society itself sustainable, a combination of scientific orientation knowledge and social participation or cooperation is needed, and we learned through the interesting conference here in Berlin that citizen science is therefore a best practice solution. By its specific character as a mode of social self-enlightenment, citizen science could broadly anchor the knowledge for change and increase the public support of social transformation. However, to secure this knowledge in the long term, it is a specific task to develop a shared framework for equal cooperation, and this is what we call partnerships for change. In this session, we like to discuss the conditions and form of such partnerships and the future orientation. We like to address critical points for all stakeholders, like the tensions between the autonomy and utilization of citizen science, the mediation between scientific independence and participatory expectations, and the benefits of the open science policy. I wish to thank the Mercator Foundation, which support this session, and I will, because we have a full program and a lot of interesting papers and presentations, and that's why I will give the word forward to Nicola Moschek from the Museum for Naturkunde, and she will give us a presentation about the first insights into the survey, the contribution of European citizen science projects to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Nicola?
Danke, Jörn. Thank you, Jörn. Hello, it gives me a great pleasure to meet you all online and offline. My name is Nicola Moschek, and I'll give you this first insights. So we are a team. This is Nicola Moschek, Silke Vogt-Heuke, Kim Mottega, Claudio Fabo-Kartasch, and Jörn Knoblauch. We want to share some insights of our survey. Recent publications identify three key aspects of citizen science's contribution to SDGs. It's goals and/or indicators, fields of action, and data. And these recent publications provide very important analysis, but they could not build on empirical data and information from the projects themselves. So this is why we as a team designed our own survey. It was open from end of July till last week. 162 participated, and we could analyze the data of 125 projects from all over Europe and, as you see on the map, from beyond. The current and future contribution is linked to all SDGs by the projects we asked for. If you look at the green bars on the slide, you can see which goals are currently supported by the projects. And the blue bars show the potential to make a contribution in the future. And these were the answers of the projects surveyed, and the approach is referring to Dilek Freisel, who we just met in a session before. For us, very surprising was that goal 3, 4, and 11, goal 3 is good health and well-being, goal 4, quality education, and goal 11, sustainable city, were ranked so high. Most of the publications I referred before rank goal 15, life on land, on the first place. So this is here. But this results perfectly fits into the discussion of the session of Claudia Goebel earlier today. So we are in line. This approach of our survey refers to Weston Pateman, and I've seen Rachel Pateman in the sessions and chats too. Hello to Rachel. 72% of the projects are involved in monitoring. That means that they are collecting, processing, and making data available. 2/3 are supporting the SDGs by raising awareness. That means that they help to identify problems, that they inform and communicate. We're staying at the data. Already 30% share data and information with their authorities, like municipality, federal or state authorities. But as you see here in yellow, 19% do not pass on any data, and 43% do not know. Only one project shares data with one of the UN databases. See here. I think the presenters doesn't work, but I think you can follow me. So consequently, 55% of the projects ask for assistance on how to contribute to data collection, monitoring, and analysis that is useful to the achievement of the SDGs. And 50% on how to report data to responsible authorities and/or to United Nations databases. So we found strong evidence that projects should receive more support to adapt or extend their data collection and their data management. Based on these results, we need to develop a new approach to facilitate the development of new partnerships. We should focus on the UN databases that have the greatest potential in terms of benefiting from citizen science data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ugo. Thank you very much. Very good that you had your 5 minutes because it's very important for us today. I think this is a very interesting input from Nicola because it shows that from the one side of this partnership for change, from the citizen scientists, there's first there is a degree or a high level on awareness about the citizens, the SDGs, one thing, and the other is that that they have in the self-analysis seen that they need more assistance and they need good contributions for an effective partnership for change. And in the next presentation, we will have a view from, we can call the other side of these partnerships for change. And I'm really happy to welcome Jan-Philipp Beck from the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. He will give us an input or a presentation about the partnership from the EET Health partnership model as an innovative solution towards addressing the sustainable health challenge. So, Jan-Philipp, we're happy to hear your presentation.
Thank you very much. Just give me a quick confirmation that you can see my slides. Hope that all works out. Yeah, my screen. Does that work?
It works.
Perfect, super. So hello everyone. Thank you very much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to talk about EIT Health. My name is Jan-Philipp Beck. I'm the CEO of the organization. First of all, congratulations to the organizers putting such a fantastic program together, and again, delighted to be here. I would indeed like to introduce the EIT and EIT Health to you. It might not be known to many of you in the audience. And of course, then I want to give you some concrete examples on how we are approaching particularly the involvement of patients and citizens in innovation, and because I believe that this critically relates to what we are discussing here today. So Just a couple of words on the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. It was set up in 2008. It's a body of the European Union. It's actually under DG EAC and the European Commission. And the EIT had a clear goal right from the outside. It was to bring innovation communities together that could address global challenges. The first generation of these knowledge and innovation communities was set up back in, I think, then around 2009, 2010, first addressing digital transformation, climate change, and energy technologies. And then EIT Health came to the table in 2015 to tackle challenges around health, demographic change, and well-being. Overall, we try to deliver innovation that supports healthy living and active aging. And our overall goal is to deliver broad societal impact. And we do believe that, of course, societal impact is constructed from the connection between innovation and society. Of course, in itself, I would say we can only speak of innovation if great knowledge that we derive from science actually reaches people and has a positive impact there. And then, of course, it needs to be measured against what actually matters to people. And it needs to be also, particularly, of course, in health, but equally everywhere, assessed on ethical, legal, and social principles such as fairness, integrity, equality, and also diversity. Now, with our community, and I will speak about that just in a minute on who is part of it, we pursue three key goals, and I believe they all relate very much to the SDGs. Number one is strengthening healthcare systems in Europe, trying to deliver innovation that can help them to become more sustainable and also resilient. I think that is more relevant than ever during COVID times, and also the weaknesses that have been exposed through the crisis. Then maybe first and foremost and in the center is to promote better health of citizens in Europe, but actually also through the solutions potential globally. And then finally, we also want to contribute to a sustainable health economy. We want to strengthen also the health sector in Europe and increase its competitiveness, and of course also support that the environment is created in which innovation can actually flourish. Now, a little bit of conceptual slide. I go through this quite quickly. At the center are the people that we deliver to and are accountable to. And then our approach is very much resting on a triangle, meaning that we want to leverage research, support business, the creation of business and entrepreneurship, and of course also couple that with education. And we believe that that is the only way to truly initiate innovation. What we work on through the different our different activities, be it organizational change or be it the acceleration of new products and services to market, that always needs to be informed by actual unmet needs. And our approaches try to ensure that in the various ways. And these needs we can pick up from people, but also from institutions such as payers, health insurances, for example, healthcare providers, care providers, and so on. And those are ultimately also those that we deliver the solutions to. So this is how we are looking at the environment in which we are delivering outcomes that truly matter. Now, just very briefly, organizationally, we are spread all over Europe. I don't want to spend too much time on that. And the green areas in our innovation hubs, most of the 150 organizations that are part of EIT Health Cluster, but we do a lot of outreach and engagement through various and additional hubs all over Europe. Now, involving people in what truly impacts them and matters to them, that's key for us. And I would like to say from the beginning also, this is for us it's not done, right? It's a journey, and I want to share with you where we are on this journey, and that may also be then, of course, good to hear feedback during the discussion. First of all, Of course, I mean, we subscribe to what the European Commission has also stated, and the Commissioner, that citizen science, or the involvement of citizens in science, and I would also say in innovation, is absolutely critical in order ultimately also to enable innovation and achieve trust. I think there is enormous potential for this in the space of health and health innovation, and I believe that it also is maybe in some areas still actually quite surprisingly untapped. Now, I already told you it's quite an inclusive network that we have, made up of organizations from industry, university, the payers are there, of course also incubators, research organizations, healthcare providers, cities and regions. So overall 150 organizations that are there, a lot of others around us in the network, and it's an open network. It's open to everyone who's interested in joining. Now, we are working on involving citizens and patients through an entire innovation pathway. I shared a little bit on the approach and let's say in the broad picture that we are following, and we really are trying to make it to ensure great involvement right from the start all the way throughout the process. Nearly 10,000 citizens and patients have been involved in co-creation activities in 2020, about 20 also new organizations that will be joining us in 2021 as partners, which is very, very exciting. A little bit on terminology. I don't want to bore you too long, but it's important, I think, to mention that. So for us, why do we always speak of citizens and patients? Well, citizens for us are people that are taking part in an activity, but not because of a pre-existing health condition, while patients are those who are taking part because of such a condition, and that, of course, makes a critical difference. And then involvement really means having people inside in an activity where they can co-create, and it's, let's say, with them and by them, as opposed to just participation, where they are more subject maybe to research and innovation. And participation, of course, also happens, for example, in clinical trials, and that is important. But today I want to focus just on a couple of examples on how we try to actually pursue more actual involvement of both groups, citizens and patients. And I just run you through a couple of examples here. First, just in terms of outreach, so this is just about informing people about also innovative solutions and making them then aware of opportunities to get involved in things. We have a variety of campaigns, of on-site festivals. Of course, with COVID, this has now been somewhat more difficult, but overall, the target for 2020 is to directly reach around 50,000 people all over Europe and provide them with concrete opportunities. Now, in the area of what I would call education, training, and also entrepreneurship, we have 12 programs that are dedicated to this, and just two examples which I would like to flag. One that we run together with the Hospital Clinic of Barcelona and also other partners is actually it's a series of events and workshops where we bring health professionals and patients and citizens together in one room, in one setup, to see how it's a leadership training essentially on how leaders in healthcare can define innovation pathways and transformation with the involvement of people, and we design that with citizens and patients together. Silver Starters is a bit totally different program. I just want to give you the broad overview together with the Medical University in Łódź in Poland, but also Leiden Academy and others. And here we're trying to empower entrepreneurs, primarily elderly, so above 50, above 55, who have an idea for an innovation that they would like to bring forward, and we work together with them and see how that can be designed. And the beauty here is that these are often solutions that they have experienced a particular need for, specifically for elderly people, and that has not been taken up before. So a very targeted program where we have involved more than 50 people so far. Then a very pan-European global activity with various partners that has been quite successful and seen fantastic uptake is what we call a patient innovation bootcamp. So this is where we put patients in the center to actually become innovators, to develop solutions that they actually and other patients in their situations can need. And we do this in a typical entrepreneurship bootcamp fashion. Well, we help them to validate the business plan, to go through scaling exercises, to even attract investments. We have 10 teams supported this year, and it's amazing what can really work and come out. And then finally, just as a bit broader initiative, is that overall, also for a large body of projects that we do, we want to focus more and more on projects that are really driven by outcome that matter to patients. I mean, this is an overall big trend in healthcare that many of you know, that we also should be optimizing for, and also more paying for actual outcome, and not just for input. This is good from various sides, but it requires, of course, that patients are critically involved, and so are they also for us in advisory boards and so on, to define what truly matters and make sure that healthcare can also be optimized around this. Now, with that being said, I conclude. I think I've already run over time. Let me just say that for us, the involvement of patients and citizens is really the gateway to the future. And I hope that some of the examples that I gave can give you an idea about what we are doing. We are on the journey, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
For this very interesting presentation, I think we learned two things for our question, or for our topic, partnerships for change. First, that the creation of partnerships for change will not start at the zero level. So we have a lot of existing best practice or good practice examples on one side. And second, that the idea for the partnerships of change depends in a high different way from the specific SDG. And related to the SDGs with health, we can see that there are specific solutions, and it will now be very interesting to discuss how we could translate such general expectation like cooperation, coordination, co-creation into the specific different fields of our action. So thank you very much. And with that, we go further to the best practice solutions from the citizen science perspective. And we start the next presentation will be from Macarena Cardenas. Her topic is creating sustainable cities in partnership, investigating nature-based solutions through citizen science. And yeah, so please, Macarena, we are happy to hear you.
Thank you, Jörn. Thank you. I want to check that you can hear me and that you can see my presentation. If you can say yes, because I'm not seeing you.
We see it.
Yes, perfect, excellent. So hello everyone, and I am Macarena Cárdenas. I'm one of the researchers of Earthwatch Europe, and I was one of the many researchers that were involved in the program that I'm going to tell you about, which was largely focused and inspired by the SDGs, and is mainly focused on creating sustainable cities, SDG 11. And well, there was other connections that I'm going to mention later on, and that it was created in partnership. And we use citizen science in nature-based solutions to actually tackle the support of sustainable cities. So for who haven't heard about Earthwatch, we are an environmental charity with citizen science as its heart. And we're an independent research organization, and we focus in monitoring the health of our natural resources and inform actions to protect and restore the environment. And through all of these and the activities we do, we like to connect people with nature. We mainly focus in inspiring, supporting, informing, and empowering action of different groups, which obviously include scientists, businesses, civil society, and communities, from schools to local communities to government and policymakers. So in 2017, we received a challenge, which came from a corporate. It is an international major bank, and they came to ask us to co-create a program that would answer the question of how can we actually support to create sustainable cities while we're facing climate change. And this program also had to have other characteristics which involve supporting their sustainability strategy, engaging and educating their employees to increase awareness for the environment, and obviously focusing in climate change in cities. So our answer was the co-design and co-creation of the sustainability training program, which ran for 2 years. And it included mainly 2 aspects, which was citizen science and education. And all of that was inspired, and we had a focused values in the SDGs. So everything from the management of the program to the citizen science were inspired by the SDGs. And this was a residential 2-day program where we would have up to 20 participants at each event in all the cities, and the citizen science that they would be doing was based on investigating nature-based solutions. And who haven't heard about nature-based solutions, in simple words, this is nature. This is green and blue infrastructure, so from wetlands, rivers to trees and green roofs that actually have multiple benefits for the environment, but also society and economy. So the sustainability training program involves different entities and places. So the major component was with the corporate in 17 major cities around the world that you see here in the map, and that were in 8 countries. For the citizen science aspect, we engaged and worked with 28 researchers from 17 academic and research institutions. And because the program focuses on cities, we also work with the city managers and park managers, the communities, including schools, and up to around 1,800 employees from this bank. So in terms of the educational part, I won't say much, but that obviously we focus on encouraging discussions and talking about the climate change and the impact it has for our environment and our lives in urban areas. And that we also encourage our participants to discuss about their findings in the field after the data collection in the citizen science sessions. And what is very important in terms of the citizen science is that we contacted a diverse range of expert academics and researchers from each one of the countries to create the citizen science, to co-create with us the citizen science projects. And these academics and researchers cover multiple disciplines. Many of the projects are transdisciplinary. And what is important is that the projects that were created on nature-based solutions in each one of these locations were having people and places in mind. So looking for issues, environmental issues that could be resolved with nature-based solutions. So it was relevant for them. And amongst the the nature-based solutions that we studied are wetlands, river, urban trees, and bioswales. So I'm going to show you an example of a few of them, so you can have an idea how these citizen science projects were about. So in US and Canada, we studied the bioswales, which to understand how they can increase the flood protection, support local groundwater recharge, and reduce extreme temperature events. So we studied around 60 bioswales between these cities, and actually we got to understand that actually they are quite diverse, and that there is a management that can be done to improve their efficiency. In Mexico, we studied the major water supply to Mexico City, and we got to understand how different nature-based solutions around the valley that provide this water has a different impact. So these actually give us a tool for water management. In UAE, we studied urban trees, which actually help, and how they actually help with thermal comfort, and how they can be a help for more sociable places in these arid areas, in these and other arid areas. And the data that the citizen scientists collected actually are fitting into models that are actually helping us to decide urban management. In Europe, we also studied trees, and in this case, it was in different land management, which included street trees to urban parks. And we compare the different land managements and which one may actually provide the best benefits for their ecosystem services. So the outcomes of the program overall were very positive. So we got a large amount of scientifically robust scientific data. These approved by all the principal investigators that are engaged. And from this large volume of citizen science we work with, actually 95% of the participants said that they found contributing to this research, to all the research, useful experience. So when we looked at a more personal experience, we found that actually a high percentage of increase in confidence in the ability of the participants to take action to be more environmentally sustainable, and a large percentage as well an increase of motivation to consider environmental sustainability and their personal decisions. So this actually means that the work or going through this program with citizen science meant a positive impact for people that we are studying to understand how transformational it was, but definitely created a motivation for action. So I mentioned earlier on that obviously it was mainly focused on sustainable cities and communities. But we actually also supported directly through the Citizen Science Project, the Climate Action SDG, as well as clean water sanitation, life on land, and quality education, where we provided this to people that wouldn't access to this before. We are encouraging innovation and infrastructure for example, the water supplies of cities, as well as urban planning. We are supporting as well the good health and well-being, where we get people like bankers that wouldn't leave their offices otherwise to actually enjoy nature. Gender equality when choosing our academics to the people that participated, and definitely supported partnership for the goals. So overall, we're very proud to say that we work in partnership, inspire and supporting the SDGs with people and places in mind, and that with the research now we have new tested citizen science methods to monitor nature-based solutions, which are actually already influencing policy, and that we definitely inspire, enable, and empower people for sustainable actions. And something that we also achieve that is important to us is the feedback to our citizens, where we have provided workshops, webinars after the events, and told them about what the data they collected mean. And also in our website, we have a data story with the preliminary findings of the data they collected. Our next steps are to publish the research, and where all the principal investigators are working on that. And we have also a special issue where we are inviting everyone to collaborate on this. We are working dissemination of the results with policy brief and webinars that will come in our website very soon. And definitely understanding the social impact of citizen science in partnership, for example, with the corporate. And we have a PhD student doing that in the University of Reading. Something that I like to highlight as a final remark is that what worked for us for a sustainable partnership was the co-creation, to have shared values, and definitely to know how to compromise. So the acknowledgements are for so many of the institutions, and definitely for the scientists and the people that were involved in this program. And here are the details of our web pages and email in case that you have any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Macarena Cadenas from Earthwatch Europe. And we go forward to Kim de Rick from the knowledge team and environmental knowledge community. Her presentation goes about best practices in citizen science for environmental monitoring. So, Kim de Rick, we're happy to hear you.
Yes, you can hear me, and can you also see my screen? Okay, thank you. Because now I don't see you anymore. I only see my slides. Okay, good. Yes, so I will present best practices in citizen science for environmental monitoring. I will do that together with my colleague Sven Schade, who is also here. He works for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, and I work for the Environmental Department of the European Commission. And actually this work was a collaboration also with the European Environment Agency and other departments in the European Commission, such as research and innovation. I will be presenting this document, which has been published end of July, in middle of the summer. It's a staff working document, and actually it follows very nicely on what Nicola presented at the beginning of this session, where she highlighted the willingness and the need or the interest of citizen scientists to contribute to policy making, and request for guidance. And actually this is a sort of guideline that responds to this need. And as you can see, it's also available online. We showed the URL again at the end of this presentation. So the purpose of this document is to promote and enhance the uptake of citizen science for environmental monitoring, and it provides recommendations and proposes concrete actions on how that can be done. And it all started, in fact, with a fitness check, which is an evaluation on how the EU is doing environmental monitoring and reporting and the regulations around it. And one of the conclusions of this evaluation was that, and it's reflected in the action plan that followed from it, is that actually to improve the evidence base for environmental monitoring, the Commission should make use of additional sources of information on top of its official monitoring, let's say. So the less conventional sources, such as the data provided by citizen science. And well, so this was reflected also in the action plan. It advised to promote the use of citizen science for environmental monitoring. A few steps followed: a study, stakeholder consultation, and from that followed this guideline to promote and enhance the uptake of the use of citizen science for environmental monitoring. I'm saying guideline because that was the working title of the document, but actually now it's called best practices. So the idea behind it is that indeed citizen science can contribute, has a large potential to contribute to policy making and to several stages of policy making. And on the left-hand side, you see a number of examples of citizen science initiatives. Some of you may know them. For instance, Marine Litter Watch helped to identify what type of plastic litter is found on beaches in Europe, and from that information was used in the European rules on single-use plastic to reduce single-use plastic. So it helped in the problem definition and the policy formation. Other projects such as Curieuze Neuzen, a Flemish project on air pollution, measured air pollution in streets at a very granular level. So it helped monitor the policy implementation and situation on the ground. And so it can also contribute to policy evaluation, whether it's working or not. There are several initiatives here also on in the area of biodiversity, which actively contribute to, for instance, recognized European indicators for biodiversity. And actually, these citizen science initiatives are a fundamental contribution to those indicators. And there are many more examples possible like that. Interestingly, also these examples also contribute to what we now know as the European Green Deal, a major Commission priority or set of priorities, which includes zero pollution ambition, circular economy action plan, biodiversity strategy, climate neutrality objective, and I didn't even mention here the sustainable food. So all of these initiatives will also need a lot of knowledge and data through which citizen science can definitely contribute. And in addition, also important for these initiatives, in these Green Deal priorities, is citizen engagement. It's a recurrent theme in these priorities, and citizen science is an excellent tool to contribute to that as well. There are a lot of unexplored or underexplored opportunities for citizen science to policy contribution. For instance, there is a great need of data and knowledge on pollinators. To protect bees and bumblebees and butterflies, we need to know a lot more about what species there are, what their geographical spread is and the trends. And this is something that citizen science could also contribute to. So back to the document then, the best practices. It gives an overview of the landscape of environmental citizen science and analyzes the good practices and the lessons learned, highlighting the benefits and the challenges. And then the most interesting part of this document are the recommendations and the possible actions. And we have formulated them specifically targeting the key actors in the field. And these are EU authorities, then the public authorities in member states, that includes the local environmental agencies, but also, for instance, statistical offices. Researchers are important partners. The citizen science communities, these are then the actual citizen science practitioners, and then associations and networks such as the European Citizen Science Associations, but there are many regional and local, national networks as well. And that has led to, well, we have grouped the recommendations in 4 main areas, working areas, let's say. One is how to improve the matchmaking between the policy needs on the one hand and the citizen science activities on the other hand. So how will they find, how can we facilitate that they find each other? Secondly, how to promote awareness, trust and recognition in both directions, from the policymakers towards the citizen science, that the quality of the data is good enough, and also from citizen scientists towards, or the citizen science communities towards the policymakers. Third block of recommendations focuses on promoting the data quality and interoperability standards and sharing of tools, so more technical aspects that can facilitate the uptake of citizen science for environmental monitoring. And then the fourth block on supporting coordination, collaboration, and resources for policy impact. And this is where I will hand over to Sven.
I hope this is working. Hello. Good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I hear you.
Brilliant.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Kim. So this is actually some of the actions that we are then proposing in this document. So you can find much more detailed descriptions in the document itself. So to give you a gist of what we put in, we are addressing basically all the relevant stakeholders that Kim mentioned before, and encourage the engaging in co-creation activities and really looking into strategic partnerships. So this is basically the main topic also of this session. Then if we speak more to the citizen science communities, we really try to push and acknowledge the need to communicate very transparently about the methodologies used, and really also explaining data validation processes so that data can be actually used and assessed for fit for purpose for environmental monitoring. And then also very important towards the citizen science associations, the actions we propose here are, on the one hand, to create online knowledge base about citizen science initiatives across Europe. And this is actually something which is very much taken on by EXA, for example, and the EU Citizen.Science platform. And we also request more the coordination of citizen science initiatives at EU level, but also at national and regional level, which actually very much resonates the publication of the European Research Area of 2 weeks ago, where exactly this role is also given to, or this request is made as recommendation number 13 in the ERA communication. If you just go to the next slide, Kim, we also have a series of recommendations addressing authorities, both at the European level, but also in member states. And this basically goes towards highlighting and contributing to the main priorities of the Green Deal that Kim already mentioned, but also ensuring that the official reporting mechanisms are open to include citizen science data and knowledge. We see this happening in several biodiversity and related processes, but not everywhere. So we encourage this as well. And also we encourage to review and communicate about data quality requirements so that it can be better assessed which kind of citizen science project may contribute. So you can read more about this in the entire document. And I have to say it complements actually very well and goes hand in hand with the conference declaration that we will hear more about in the coming session. So if you could go to the next slide, I just want to finish with a few concluding remarks. So basically with the document and the recommendations and best practices in there, we are actually covering an entire cycle that connects citizen science and policy making. And in fact, this cycle can be run through for a lot of different thematic areas. For example, environmental monitoring or monitoring of the SDGs related to life in water, life on land, but also related to climate and health. So I actually encourage everybody to have a look at this document and actually see how it might apply to their different thematic fields. But what I want to leave you with is on the next slide, that we should not forget that at the same time, this work also contributes to more underlying deeper principles. On the side of citizen science, this is also a contribution to open science, open access, and transparency. And on the side of policymaking and public institutions, it speaks a lot about better regulation and improving public services. And to close, if you click once more, here you actually then have again a very close connection on the one hand to the SDG on education, but also on the SDG which speaks to the improvement of institutions. And with this, I would like to close and to thank you all. And here is a link again. I also posted it in the chat, and we are happy to receive questions later on. Thank you very much.
And for this interesting and very powerful presentation. So we come to our last presentation from Maria Vicente, and she talks about drinkable rivers, citizen science as a tool for the involvement of the local community and monitoring water quality of the Douro River. So please, Maria.
Hello. Well, I'm also going to ask if you can also hear me and see my presentation. Yes, so yes. Okay, so good afternoon. So I'm here, I'm representing the Open Science Hub Portugal team, or in Portuguese, the Plataforma de Ciência Aberta. And we are a collaboration between the Municipality of Figueira de Castelo Rodrigo and Leiden University, and we're also a partner in the EU Citizen Science Project. And I'm here to tell you about the project that we have been doing to tackle the challenge of water quality of the Douro River in Portugal by using a citizen science approach. So the Open Science Hub is part of a wider network, which is called the Open Science Hub Network, which is coordinated by Leiden University, where open science hubs work as mediators in local communities to tackle local challenges by engaging relevant stakeholders through research and innovation opportunities. And here on the left, you can see an overview of the different partners. And in Portugal, we are located in the northeast of Portugal, close to the border between Portugal and Spain. And before telling you about the project, let me just give you a bit of the context of this town and our challenges. So we are located in this village by the Douro, which is a small village with a couple of, with some hundreds of inhabitants. And as any low density territory, unfortunately, there is a limited access to science, technology, and innovation. You can see in yellow the closest universities and research institutes. There is low collaboration between different entities, and there is an increasing loss of young population and the low level of innovation entrepreneurship. But there's also many positive aspects. This territory hosts 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, like the Douro Wine region, or the archaeological, the world, the open air, biggest one in the world of archaeological engravings, the Coa Valley Archaeological Park. In terms of biodiversity and nature, it's also very rich, from plants to animals, and the sky is also wonderful. And in terms of heritagecal and culture is also very powerful. And this leads to an enormous tourism potential, also because the Douro River it also has several companies running several river cruises that start in Porto and then go along the river to Barca d'Alva, this village that I told you where the Open Science Hub is located, which is the last station of these Douro river cruises. So this, on one hand, it's an immense potential, this river tourism, but it's also a huge challenge, particularly for such small villages like Barca d'Alva. And actually, during last year, there were several reports about water pollution, mainly because of discharges due to lead or due to these river tourism, these river cruises. So, and just to give you a notion, in Barca d'Alva, these river cruises are the entry point for more than 100,000 tourists, which leads to huge difficulties in terms of urban waste management and also the pollution of the water courses, namely because of discharges of oil and wastewater. So our main goals in terms of this project, also because although there's plenty of reports noticing and showing these discharges into the river, there's no systematic monitoring and there's no evidence for this. So our goals are on one hand to understand how the water quality of the Douro River is impacted by river tourism, and also very importantly to raise awareness and stimulate action with the local community with a focus on policymakers, also because we are part of a municipality and with schools as well. So one thing that is very important to mention is that these Douro River cruises are a very big economic lobbying, which makes these municipalities, these small municipalities, very weak when trying to tackle what is the environmental impact. So for us, citizen science was a way or a tool to obtain scientific legitimacy with policymakers and for community involvement. And last year, we were lucky actually through the Citizen Science Lab of Leiden University to meet the Drinkable Rivers team that by the time we're forming a network of water lab hubs across Europe. The Drinkable Rivers team, which is a quite diverse team, is based in the Netherlands, and it has a team of active citizens, researchers, and when we had the opportunity of joining this project, it was very important because it allowed us to have a systematic approach. We were offered a starting kit that allowed us to measure several different variables from pH, conductivity, phosphates, nitrates, and so on and so forth. But also very importantly, to have a series of webinars that allowed us to have some training. And also it's very important to say that we are always in constant contact with the Drinkable Rivers team. So we have these also this personal mentoring, which is also very, very important. So we started by designing our research plan. In red, you can see that it's the foci of pollution, and then we set the other measurement points. And we started doing monthly measurements on average. We had a period of time during the lockdown where we didn't do it. And since one of the important aspects was to involve policymakers in schools, in our first session, we decided to invite the mayor and the school board, which was very interesting. And in the second one, the mayor came again, and now we had a school. We started doing these with the boat of the firefighters, of the local ones, and we also had a national TV, which was very important because it allowed us to have wide national coverage, but also international in Spain, as you can see from this newspaper from Salamanca. So we go, in every session, we go into the boat, the firefighters' boat, as you can see here. We collect a bunch of samples from these different points that I showed you, and then we analyze them through in the session together with our students. And this is very powerful because it also opens several learning opportunities. And after this, the data is uploaded into the Drinkable Rivers website, and you can see here the different water lab hubs and the different monitoring that is happening across Europe. And here's just a zoom of the Portuguese one. So 1 year after we started this project, I think we can say that we gained legitimacy to do it. We also gained strong interest and support from the municipality. Through our team, we established a sustainable mechanism to perform regular analysis, and we also got interest and regular involvement of schools. So after 1 year, we were able to do several sessions to involve several participants from different sectors of our community, right? From the school community to local inhabitants, visitors, firefighters, policymakers. And these, very importantly, was only possible because it was based on a set of partnerships. On one hand, the International Drinkable Rivers Network, and locally with the municipality, with the environmental department, the firefighters, and the school. Okay, so now where are we heading to? So 1 year ago, I would be telling you that it's great that we have this opportunity of having citizen science as a tool to obtain this scientific legitimacy with our local communities. And now, after doing 1 year of doing this systematic monitoring of the river, we feel that we need to start having scientific evidence and impact to make legitimate this continuing this community-led project. So what are we currently doing? What are our current priorities and our short-term objectives? On one hand, we are trying to understand what we're measuring, what is the quality data that we have. We just started preliminary data analysis together with the Drinkable River team. Should we keep or change our approach? What is the actual impact of that the project is having? On the other hand, and this is a very important aspect, although we have a continuous support and mentoring from the Drinkable Rivers team, we need to start establishing and strengthening the connections with the local universities, because these are the ones that will allow us to have a sustainable continuation of the project, because they will know the territory, and they will allow us to have not only the human resources, but also the knowledge of the territory to continue. And also, very importantly, although these sessions with the schools when we go to the river are very interesting, We want to develop more long-lasting educational opportunities, and we are developing a series of educational resources based on pre-existing activities that exist in the curricula, and we are adapting them in order to be more adapted to the local context, and by integrating citizen science in the curriculum. And actually this Saturday we are doing a training for teachers. So as a final minute, I would like to make a small reflection, and also along these lines, about how important these collaborations and partnerships are. And some weeks ago, I came across this paper by Dilek and a big group of people, which I think is very relevant, which is about mapping the citizen science contributions to the Sustainable Development Goals. And taking as an example SDG 6 and 14, which are related with clean water and sanitation and life below water, I think one of the most, or at least for me, one of the most important outcomes from the study as well is that either from the projects that could be contributing to citizen science, or the ones that are already contributing to citizen science, is that it is very important to have common vision, goals, and plans from the different stakeholders that are involved in these projects, to understand what is relevant for the communities, as has been said several times in this session, and then to understand how we can involve the different partners already since the beginning, so that at the different steps of the research process and of the community involvement, we make sure that the partners are there and that we are going to achieve societal and scientific impact. And this to say that as a long-term vision, we hope that by 2030 or 2040 that the Douro River is drinkable, and this will only be possible by having these partnerships for the goals. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maria Vicente. We already crashed our timeline, but Claudia, what do you think? Do we have time for 2 questions?
I think as session organizers, and since it's the last session before the final one, we will do a very short round. I'll have a short question for one of you, and I'll please ask you to take no more than a minute, so everyone and you as well are able to jump to the other session. So since Nicola already had to go to the other room to her session, first question to Jan-Philipp. EIT Health is a living example of the whole of society coming together to tackle a global challenge. And you told us about the pivotal role of citizens and patients in the organization strategy. And can you tell us about the extent to which you feel that all health innovators are ready to embrace this? So from what you have gathered, what is the next step?
Just very briefly, we did a brief survey on that on our annual conference that we have, and I think there is an enormous awareness. So a vast majority sees the importance of it, but there is much less confidence about how to actually do it and how to put it in practice in actual work. And I think that so there's a very good foundation, and it's embraced at a conceptual level, but in terms of doing it, there's still a lot more potential, and we ought to also embrace many organizations out there to move forward, if we put it this way.
Thank you very much, Jan-Philipp. And Macarena, quick question for you. What is a unique insight that you can share of your project or idea or presentation that contributes to partnership, including citizen science? So what can we all learn from the Earthwatch projects? Macarena? Macarena, your mic is muted, and at least myself I'm not able to see you.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So what I was saying is that I think actually there is a unique insight, but what I mentioned on what worked for us in terms, especially on the compromise, where we have to find the common values with whom we're partnering, which makes it successful, which makes a partnership successful, where you find that when you have common values, the gains are large and for everyone. And when you compromise and you find this balance, so working with corporate, of course, the aims in terms of what they want and versus citizen science are going to be different. If we focus on what is the common ground, which are the values, then I feel, and we prove with this program, that we'll benefit. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Macarena.
I have now to close this round because we have now the next final step on our conference, because we like to declare our declaration, and this declaration, so you're also all invited to share this moment in the next 10 minutes. So we start within 10 minutes, and this declaration will be, or should be, the formal foundation for all further partnerships for change. It's a very general document, but we see from your expertise, from your experiences, that we can now fill this general document, and with this general recommendations, we have the potential to fill these recommendations with so much good practice examples from your side, and that's why you all invited to make this declaration, then to bring it as a living document. And so thank you very much for your participation, for your contribution, for your interesting presentations, and we are looking forward to meet you, to stay in contact with you, and we hope we'll have further development of partnership for change. So thank you very much, and have a good day. So from Berlin, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jan and Claudia. Bye.